I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please bow with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you that we have some rain coming. I pray that we'll have only minor damage, if any. Thank you for this group that could be here tonight. Thank you for our community. Thank you for those who serve the community. Thank you for our soldiers and all those who have been in harm's way. And we thank you that you continue to work to get others out of harm's way, and just be with those who are assisting those in foreign countries that need their assistance, Lord. Just pray for your protection on them. Just ask that you give us wisdom tonight as we conduct county business, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, first, before we go to our regularly scheduled county council meeting, we have a public hearing. And the first public, we have a series of public meetings. The first one, I'll open up for public comment on the proposed ordinance on the property tax relief rate changing. So I'll hear any comments from the audience on property tax relief rate. Hearing none, guess we close that public hearing. Second public hearing is in regards to our Wells County, Indiana General Obligation Bonds, Series 2021. This is regarding the jail project. Rick, do you want to bring us up to speed on the bonds?
Sure.
Could you do that for us?
Sure. My name's Rick Hall from the law firm Barnes and Thornburg. We're serving as bond counsel to the county with respect to the jail bond issue. So this public hearing relates to the appropriation of the bond proceeds and the APRA monies that you've received. So the county has received roughly $5.4 million in APRA funds and has determined that it's through a plan that you have up for consideration later this evening, determined to use $2.75 million of that towards the jail project. This hearing relates to an appropriation of those monies towards to the project. They become county monies like any other monies and have to be appropriated. The other portion of the public hearing relates to the appropriation of the bond proceeds themselves. So if the council acts later this evening to approve the issuance of bonds in the amount of $5.575 million, that would be a maximum amount, then those monies also have to be appropriated. So this is a hearing on both of those appropriations. Be happy to answer any questions.
So with that, are there any comments or thoughts from the audience on what we are proceeding on in this public hearing? Hearing none. I think we can get back to any of those specific questions when we do the ordinances.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to close that public hearing. Moving on to the public hearing regarding our 2022 budgets. Just listening for any public voices. We're not here to adopt the budget tonight. We'll adopt that at our October 5th meeting. But if anyone from the public would like to comment on the budgets that have been passed by council in our August budget hearings, we'll open that to the public comment. Hearing no comments from the public, we'll close that public hearing as well. Okay, moving on. We will open our county council meeting for September 7th, 2021. First on the agenda is the minutes. Have all members of the council had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion second. All in favor, raise their right hand. Okay. All right, moving on, transfers. First up is a Superior Court transfer. From pauper attorney to psychiatric services. I don't know, do we have a representative from Superior Court to answer any questions? Pretty straightforward on
Yeah,
that
I think
one.
that.
Community corrections, Blake, would you like to tell us what you're doing there?
We're updating our copier, duplex copier for the office, and so we're just doing that. This time we were able to purchase outright much more efficiently than we've been able to in the past. We've done leases. So our old duplexer, Roger, was reassigning over here to the annex to somebody that could use it.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions on transfers? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve transfers as
Motion to
presented.
approve the transfers.
Second.
Okay, a motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, transfers are approved. Next, we have an appropriation, and this has to do with the jail renovations. This is something that we will pay back. We're taking an appropriation from State Road 301 Road Transfer Fund, but those will eventually be replaced from the ARPA funds that we've received. And it has to do with the timing of the invoices from Amoresco and that project. So we need to use this appropriation to pay some of those invoices, and then that will be returned at a later time.
And just to confirm, Lisa, that money is parked, money's available, right?
Mhm.
It's parked there.
Any idea, Lisa, on the timing on when that'll be replaced?
On the bonding,
The 2.05 million?
Well, it'll be replaced with the bond proceeds, which we're estimating that occur in the middle of November.
Middle of November? Okay.
thank you.
Anybody have any further questions on what that is? I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion,
Second?
we have a motion and second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7 no. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sheriff.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening.
I feel like I did this once already today. Oh, wait, we did. Numbers haven't changed much since this morning. We have 62 inmates in jail. Of those 62, 19 are pretrial superior, 20 pretrial circuit, 10 F6, and 9 DOC. I've also handed out the monthly report of activity for August, along with the generated income or revenues for 2021. Again, unless anybody's got any questions, everything kind of looks pretty much the same as about this time last year. Inmates booked, average daily population is pretty similar. We're staying down right now, luckily into the 60s, but that's going to need to stay that way, especially with the renovation project going on at the same time. So I know our female population is up, and we're pretty packed with the female population right now, so that's causing us some issues as far as trying to get things around for that. So if there's not any questions on that, then I'll go over my next item. I had, the last time I was here, I brought up the fact that we were hammering out the final details of the jail renovation project as far as with the architecture firm Elvadas, and so a lot of time was spent kind of getting into the nitty-gritty, the fine details of stuff. Two things come about, and I think Steve sent out an email that I forwarded to him for a proposed change order to the project. The biggest portion of this would be, I think when we've all heard the story a million times about where we started with this project as an energy study, and then it turned into looking at using some CARES Act money and those type of things. In the very beginning, when we were trying to use our existing Sally Port to gain more space and have a car bay, or what we call our Sally Port, in the beginning, we were trying to use CARES Act funds that were available to the county at that time. And I think part of the reason we originally had kept that just more of an overhead car bay, so to speak, was to keep the funds down and tried to stay within the money that we had at the time. But I think with this thing blowing up and being a bigger project, and the fact that you guys have decided to basically update the entire jail, which is much needed and much appreciated, I think the only thing that kept bugging me over the last month was the fact that we didn't have that Sally Port enclosed. And so about a month ago, I went back and asked Elevatus before they finished their drawings to see what it would take to enclose that Sally Port. The Sally Port, more or less, is for our police vehicles to be able to pull into, outside agencies to be able to pull into, and have a secure, safe area to load, unload inmates and those type of things. Be able to lock up your weapon before you enter the jail. A car bay, I think when we were really hammering out the details, we were like, how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that? And so the intent wasn't to make a last second change, but I felt like it was necessary and it's the right thing to do, especially how we're updating everything else. So that proposed change order or modifications totaled $321,000 and some change. And then also in the midst of that, and some of you may remember when I first came into office as sheriff, I talked about how our fire alarm system within the jail, which is made up of several loops on a control panel, they're obsolete. They don't make them anymore. We've been having more and more problems over the last year with them going out, and since part of the project is adding a new loop to the system, because of the new addition part, Amoresco looked into seeing what it would do to replace the whole thing, and then we could have all the loops on the same panel, and that comes at a cost of about $50,000, which, knowing what it cost a couple of years ago, that's actually not a bad price to replace all that. Then that would all be new. I checked with, if you look at what was advertised for the funding with the $5.575 million and the $2.7 million that's available with the ARP funds, it would bring that total, that advertised total was $8.275 million. With this change order, it would put the new amount at $8.121404. So it would still be below that advertised balance. It would give us a leftover balance or a working balance of $153,000. So
that would be your contingency, the 153?
yeah, and Amoresco is working on some variance code with the fire thing that if they can get the variance on that would probably save us about $100,000 in costs as well. So that would also be the contingency. My problem is when we were trying to get the change order, I didn't want it to exceed what was already advertised. And so I'm just letting you know that it does not exceed that. It would still be within the working zone of what we're advertised between the bond and the ARP money. So
So pretty tight then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on the money here.
Yep, so I brought this up to the commissioners this morning. I know Kevin's here. They were, I brought it up to them as well. They were in full support of that and stated so in the commissioners meeting this morning. So I'm just asking, I know for them, the drawings are finalized as of the end of last week, and they're turned over, so they're ready to start scheduling out their contracting and what they're going to order. Obviously, this would change some materials and those type of things, so we thought it best to come before you guys to get approval on the change orders, which they would need to be able to move forward with that. So if there's any questions on it that I didn't quite explain, I'd be open to questions.
I just think this is the time we have to do these things to make it seamless as far as updating the jail and getting these things taken care of for
Yeah.
the future.
And I honestly agree that you guys, pretty much with the roof, the HVAC, all the things that are in there, that jail is set. I think this, to me, knowing what we do every day and those type of things, is a necessity. Most jails have a closed sally port and those type of things, and so, without the exception of beds at some point down the road, I think, this building's set for the next, 30, 35 years without, again, without the exception of the beds, which is something we'll have to deal with down the road, but,
I'm kind of with Todd, though, that you have very, very little room for error going forward. So does Amoresco feel like that they can operate under that budget? I mean, there really isn't, you go over anything at all, it's a red line and done. So as long as you guys are confident that you can operate under those constraints, that's not much leeway.
Much of it.
Yes.
Okay.
We appreciate
Yep.
you being
Yeah.
forthcoming to us. That's very-
yeah,
Yeah, it's-
again.
It's good to
I
get it
don't-
done right.
It's good to get that.
Yeah, nobody likes a last second change, but, yeah, it just kept bugging me, and
Yeah.
I just thought,
Yeah, if everybody's safer. So.
yeah. So if it's not me down the road, I mean,
Does anybody have any more comments or questions for Sheriff Holiday on that issue? Thanks for explaining that to us.
Okay.
We're
Yep.
in full support of making that happen.
okay. I know they need somebody to sign something, correct, on the change order?
Yeah.
I have it.
You have a copy of it?
No,
Yes,
I don't
yes,
know, do we need a
yes,
motion on that
yes, yes.
particular? Okay, so we'll entertain a motion on the change orders?
Mhm.
Okay, for both, the.
Yeah, they're both included in
Yep.
Okay,
one.
Yep.
in one, okay, so I'll entertain a motion for that.
So I'll make that motion.
Todd?
Motion,
Second.
we have lots of seconds. We'll see, I think Chuck, that's who I heard first. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay. So, next is our local income tax ordinance that we need to approve and decide some amounts. And would you like to go through that for us and explain exactly the numbers that we're looking at?
Well, we're gonna take away a property tax relief, .1, and we're gonna redistribute that into correctional facilities. That's what we advertised for, so you can take up to .1, anywhere in between. So I have 3 different amounts. If we do .06 into the correctional facility,
Let me just
Fund.
interject for a second. So it was decided last meeting that we would go a little bit over and above the exact necessary amount to pay for the bonds, and pigeonhole that, at least some of that for the day that we would need to expand the facility. So that's what we're discussing. Okay, go ahead.
and Oscar had said that our annual payment will be around $350,000.
Okay.
So if we do .06, that will generate $420,561 annually. .07 is $490,655
Say that
annually.
number once more, sorry.
I'm sorry,
That number again.
490,655. And then .08 is $560,749.
And that's our portion.
That is what
It's not
it'll,
distributed to other
Right.
units. Okay.
Can you read off the bonding amount again? 300, and how much thousand?
50.
350 even, give or take, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's for 5.5.
Yeah.
Is the bond amount.
I mean, and not to exceed what we're talking.
Right.
Does all that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay.
5.575, Todd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the discussion is how much over the amount of the bond payment do we want to, I guess in my mind, at least, it doesn't make sense to do that unless we're gonna go at least 150 over in each year.
Yeah, I'd say the
That would put us
.08.
at least at the .07, so. Like thoughts from council and.
The extra, where would that be put?
That stays in the correctional or rehabilitation facilities fund until it can,
Mhm.
it can be spent on,
Isn't there a certain time frame with it, if I remember right? in the
You can put
conversations?
into that-
So many years?
yep,
Is it
22?
22?
22?
That's right. 22
I mean,
year.
then it stops.
Then you can't, yeah.
Or something has to, yeah, something change.
That's the maximum length of the tax, yes.
Mhm.
And it's specifically for jail, so it's parked for that purpose. It's not,
Yeah.
That's right, that's the sole use of the funds. The
it's kind
statute
of like
was-
an acute bridge. It has to be for a bridge, it's not for other
Exactly.
usage.
Why don't we go around and get thoughts from each council member on where you think that's appropriate amount? Chuck?
I can land there, what
This 07 or 08?
you said, 07?
I think that's at least as much. 50?
I would like to stay with 07.
You think
I could
so?
go as much as .08 to make it more, I mean, 210 versus 1, yeah. I could be indifferent between .07 and .08, but I think .08 makes it more meaningful.
No?
I'm good with those 07. Here again, when we get to that point for an expansion, it's not gonna really touch it, you know, I mean. as far
Right,
as-
that's what's gonna be
But it's a
worthwhile.
good, it's a good
Mhm.
purpose. I mean, it's for the.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that, I guess it's I'm good with those 07.
I'm good with those. I just don't want to get too much in there, if we can't use it for something else, we need it, you know. We don't need it accumulate.
That's what it is.
Sounds like majority of council can settle on the 07. I would be fine with that. So I'll entertain a motion for the 07, which would produce 490,000 plus
it's ordinance number 2021-09,
2021-09.
correct.
You know, we'll make that motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the tax ordinance 2021-09.
At the
Local at .07 for the income tax rate.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, we have 7 now. Thanks, council. Okay, next is the ARPA plan and ordinance establishing the county coronavirus local fiscal recovery plan. And I believe the commissioners have already given their blessing to that. So this is just establishing the plan that we have to then work under. And that came from federal guidelines. Is that correct?
Yes, you can adopt the plan, and then you can also adopt the ordinance.
At the same time?
Yeah. Do one and then the other.
Okay, let's adopt the plan. Did everyone have a chance to at least see that plan? Any questions regarding that? I think it pretty much mirrors federal guidelines that we have to fall under anyhow. So the county just has to adopt the plan. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Jim,
Second.
second from Chuck. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, 7-0. So we have that approved. So then is the ordinance and the pledge. What do we need to say about that?
Your ordinance just spells out the plan, that Wells County has been allocated $5,496,166 in funds. And,
And we're pledging a certain amount to the jail.
yes,
Okay. That's 2748 or whatever that was, exact number was.
So which ordinance are you speaking about?
this is for the ordinance of the Wells County Council establishing the ARP Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Plan.
Yeah, this is just a more elaborate way of approving
Okay.
it. And in order to, comply, as you stated, in order to comply with federal regulations, you have to approve this plan.
Because we're, I thought that's what we just
Yeah, I
did.
thought we just approved the
Well,
commission's.
recovery plan.
what the
It's
commission
voted on,
agreed to.
the ordinance approves the plan, so you should vote on the ordinance.
So, okay, so we need the ordinance essentially approving what we just approved,
Yeah, just approve the ordinance.
for lack of better words.
Is there a number on the ordinance?
2021-12.
All right, get a motion for that.
I make a motion that we approve the appropriation ordinance for the plan for ARP.
2021-12.
2021-12.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
One second.
Second from Todd. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7. Okay, then we have a bond and appropriation ordinance.
Well, I think before that, you have the ordinance appropriating our money.
Second.
We just did the plan.
I just did the plan.
Yeah.
So this is an ordinance of Wells County Council, as fiscal body of Wells County, Indiana, pledging certain federal grants to pay for a portion.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah.
What's that ordinance number?
2021-13.
Okay. So we need to approve,
So, let's discuss that detail a little bit before we approve that. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure.
Okay, good.
So, now that you have a plan that has the, provides for the $2.7 million in change to go to the jail project, that money has to be formally appropriated for that purpose. And earlier this evening, you held the public hearing on that additional appropriation. This ordinance pledges those monies in the amount of $2.7 million towards the jail project as part of your COVID response to alleviate the spread of COVID within the jail facility. And then it also appropriates that money for that purpose.
Okay, so that's ordinance 2021-13. I need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
So moved. We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Jim, are you? Okay, 7-0. Okay, now we have bond and appropriation ordinance. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
You-
So, yeah, sure.
Go
So
ahead.
this ordinance authorizes the issuance of bonds of the county in an amount not to exceed $5,575,000. Those bonds would be payable from your jail income tax that you earlier addressed. And to the extent that those income tax revenues would ever not be available, it would have a property tax backup on it. As you outlined earlier this evening, it's anticipated that the income tax revenues will be more than sufficient to pay debt service. The addition of the property tax backup allows you to get a better credit rating, which in turn allows you to have a lower interest rate on the bonds. The bonds would have a period of 20 years, and they would be, have a maximum of interest rate not to exceed 4%. It's anticipated that the interest rate would be lower than that. The ordinance also, you'll see in section 12, appropriates the proceeds of those bonds for the jail project, and that was part of the public hearing earlier this evening. In terms of the process, if you were to adopt this ordinance this evening, then the commissioners also have to approve the issuance of the bonds. We would suggest they do that at their next meeting, which I believe is on the 20th. And then in October, your finance team of Oscar Gutierrez and Landon Bain from R.W. Baird will be working with the rating agency to secure a rating on the bond. And then once that rating is secured, the bonds can be sold out into the open market. And we are anticipating that occurring in early November, with the closing then in mid-November, when you would get the actual bond proceeds. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Rick, I have a question regarding timing. I think the commissioners are skipping their second meeting this month.
That's yes.
So moving their next opportunity to approve to October, what does that do?
That will not affect our timing.
And just to double check, once the obligation bonds are, the monies are received, there's no problems returning that back over to where we transferred money to the.
No.
Shouldn't make any difference, right? There's no
No.
formalities that are.
In fact, in this ordinance, it contemplates that you would be able to reimburse yourself with bond proceeds from previously
So there
incurred
shouldn't be a
expenses.
cost, but some
Yeah.
technicality that will
Yeah.
pickle something.
And then can you explain when the interest rate gets set and how that gets set?
That will be set after the rating is secured. Then the preliminary official statement, which is a document that describes the terms of the bonds and also the creditworthiness of the county. It's a big, thick document, a 100-page plus document. That will be circulated by the underwriter among its potential buyers. And then on an appropriate date where they think they've lined up sufficient buyers, they will go to the market and lock in the interest rate. At that point in time, there'll be a bond purchase agreement that is executed between the county and the underwriter. And Oscar, as your municipal advisor, will be monitoring the interest rates that day to confirm that the interest rate that you receive from the underwriter is one that's consistent with the market at that time. So that's your safeguard in terms of the rate that you receive. And then once that bond purchase agreement is entered into, then it's an obligation of the underwriter to buy the bonds at that interest rate. And then we need a couple weeks just to prepare all the closing documents, and then we'll actually close. But it's that point where the underwriter goes to the market, determines the interest rate, and then we sign a bond purchase agreement that your interest rate is locked in.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? I appreciate the explanation.
Sure.
Okay, so we still need an approval, or what's the ordinance number?
2021-14.
Okay. We need a motion to approve 2021-14. Council.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Miscellaneous business. We have updated 2021 salary ordinance.
Yes. The only changes in the salary ordinance for 2021 were a change for the sheriff's department of a sergeant position. and it's for the jailers. And the second thing was the health payout for comp time for COVID. You agreed to pay out Marlene and Lynn for their time that they couldn't.
Use.
Yeah. So that's in there.
Which one for the sheriff?
It is a change only in the matrix.
Oh, the matrix.
They're jailers.
Yeah,
Matrix.
yeah.
Be able to make them sergeants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can be a sergeant with 1 year experience instead of 2. So those were the only 2 changes.
Okay, anybody have any questions on that? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for those changes. Okay, we have a motion.
Sorry.
Need a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, 7. Any other miscellaneous business that we need to bring in?
Yes, I had a question on community corrections employee is going from full-time to part-time next year. And I need to put her wage on the salary ordinance. Her hourly rate, if you figured it for this year, is $26.54 an hour, and Blake would like to increase that hourly rate next year to 27.35 cents an hour. $27.35 an hour for her part-time rate. That's 3% over what she's making now.
That seems to be an appropriate change to me to make that happen,
Yeah.
unless anybody has any problem with that. It's in line with what we did for
Yeah.
salary increases, so going to a part-time position, so I think I would be in support of that.
Yeah.
So I need a motion for that.
Sure.
I need a motion for that change for that part-time position, full-time to part-time.
So moved.
Good job, thank you.
Second.
We have motion second, further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you, 7-0.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, any further business from the audience? Make any comments? Commissioner?
I would just like to say thank you to the county council. This is my last council meeting I plan to attend. And as Commissioner outgoing October 1st, it's been a pleasure. And Wells County is very fortunate, as Steve and Scott were here earlier today during our meeting. But Wells County is clearly in a very good position moving forward. A lot of these projects, highway, jail, a long time coming. And kudos to you as a council to find within your hearts to support that. Because I've watched it for a long time. And so I'm happy for that. And as I also shared today, as fellow friend, longtime friend, County Commissioner in Hamilton County, Mark Harebrant, and I go way back. Rick Hall and I go way back, serving on the County Commissioners Board at the state level. But you will find, as some of you may know, that councils and commissioners don't always get along. And I always find there's a small point in time where that happens, and through elections or what you have otherwise changes. So you clearly, Wells County's moving with our commissioners, you as a council, and away you go. So thank you. It's been great. I'm going to turn the lights out and go.
Enjoy it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Are you officially resigned yet?
October 1st.
Okay, so we still have to call you Commissioner. for
You're
another
still
month.
there. Don't turn your phone off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anything else from the audience? That I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.